Hey folks, Jessica here. Today I thought we would talk about the Rise of the Beast event. This is a recurring event in Granblue. It happens every 2 to 3 months. It is a very important one for really anyone, regardless of power level. There's going to be items here that are very relevant for new players, but also items that remain relevant for endgame players. The basic loop we're looking at is you acquire 4 symbol badges, 4 symbol pendants, through doing the showdown battles, which are solo battles, or Battle of the Beasts battles, which are raid battles that you can kick off through this menu here. You will get a variable amount of pendants from each of them, based a little bit on RNG, but also based on your contribution to the battle, and whether or not you hosted the battle. There are some more details about optimizing your pendant acquisition, which I'll get into in a moment, but let's just jump into and look at the loot real quick. Just going to mention briefly, there are also battle badges as opposed to pendants. You get these from doing each of the different element battles. There are some nice rewards from these, but they're not super, like, this isn't the main point of the event, and you will probably end up getting most of these items through just grinding for symbol badges. The main thing for 4 symbol badges that really everyone will want to get at some point are gold nuggets. As I've mentioned before, golden bars are super important in Granblue. Golden nuggets are the most consistent way to acquire them. There's a finite pool of golden bars you can get with golden nuggets. Cygames does increase that over time though, so just keep that in mind. You'll definitely want to plan around that. It is 10 golden nuggets in order to get 1 gold bar for the first gold bar, and then it increases from there. The second one will be 15 gold nuggets, and then 20 gold nuggets. Not sure what the cap is on the increases. I'm pretty sure there is one though. Each nugget right now is 10,000 pendants. So as you can see, since you're going to need 10 and then 15 and then 20, this will eat up a lot of your pendants. So if you're a new player and you don't really need a gold bar, don't worry about this one so much, but for veteran players, this is definitely the primary grind that people will go for. Next, there are 4 weapons, one for each of the non-dark and light elements, that they all give a big boost to their element's attack and their normal modifiers as opposed to Magna modifiers or EX modifiers. These are all pretty good. They come fully uncapped, and they can be 4-star uncapped. You can only see, there's no fire one here because I've already picked up 2 of the fire ones, which is a fire katana. You can only get 2 of these max. Whether or not these are going to be good for you really depends on where you are in terms of your grid, but for beginning players, these things are super strong, just because it's hard to get fully uncapped SSR weapons early on. For endgame players, though, there are still going to be weapons like the fire katana, in particular, remains relevant later on for even an endgame grid, like an endgame Agni grid. Also worth mentioning, you can upgrade these weapons through items you get through the Rising Beast trials. I'm not going to super get into those just because there's so much to talk about, but know that each of the weapons can get one of 3 upgrades that you acquire through those. These next 4 weapons, I split off in a different category because they're a little bit different. They're less ubiquitously useful than the first ones. For example, the Lyre Wings, they give a big boost to fire ally attack, sure, but they also give a secondary big boost to the fire ally in 2nd position, which is very specific, and everybody will take damage every turn. So whether or not this is going to be good for you is really dependent on what you're trying to do with your grid. Some of these can be very strong in very specific grids, but I definitely wouldn't buy these unless you really know what you're doing. The seals are used to get golden bee seals. If you get one of each of the 4 seals, you can trade it in at Sirakarte's shop in order to get a golden bee seal. Those things are used to summon Quillen and Huanglong, the dark and light bosses specifically. As you notice, there are no dark and light items here. That's because they're all acquired through that method. The other thing you can use seals for are these will allow you to start the Rising Beast trial fights, which get you currency that you can use to get the items to upgrade the aforementioned weapons, like I said before. These seals, it's very important to know, they increase in cost when you buy them. So they start at 10,000, the next one I think is 15,000, and so on. A thing to know is the cost of these, unlike the cost of gold bars, will reset between Rise of the Beast event. So if you get to the point where like you've farmed a couple golden seals and these things are starting to cost a lot of pendants, you can always wait until the next Rise of the Beast event and they'll reset back to 10k. That's slower, but it does give you a break if you don't want to spend like all day grinding these things. So SR draw ticket, whatever. I mean, if you really want to get it, fine. I don't recommend it. These next weapons, all have some auxiliary effect that's not attack. The harp gives you bonus XP. That can be useful if you're sliming. The fire staff gives you bonus item drop rate if you have it equipped, etc. Whether or not you're going to want these, again, really depends on what you're trying to do. Do know that these do not come fully uncapped, so you're going to have to get a bunch of them. Though they do come from the battle badges, and also they can drop from the beasts themselves. Supreme Merit, Champion Merits, I mean, if you need them, go ahead. Supreme Merit's usually not worth it because there are easier ways to get them. Champion Merits can be worth it, and they're cheaper. It's up to you. Fury Stones, Fury Pebbles, Pots, Soul Berries, Archangel Weapons. Nothing really important to mention here. If you want to get any of these, go ahead. If you're just flush with pendants. Do know that the rupees are super cheap. It costs 2,500 pendants to get 100,000 rupees, so if you're hurting for rupees, that can be a good way to get them. So let's take a quick peek at the Quillen and Huanglong weapons. I'm not getting into super detail because that is a separate video into itself. But the basic idea is from Zero Carte's shop, you can trade for these gold beast seals. You use the seal to host a Quillen or Huanglong fight. Those are raid battles. They're not hard if you call backup. And they get you a bunch of things, but the main thing are these talismans, obsidian and golden, which you can trade for these reams. The reams are in turn traded for weapons or summons. I've already got all the Quillen and Huanglong weapons and the Quillen summon, so the only thing left in my tab is the Huanglong summon, but as you can see, it costs reams. I'm not going to super get into the weapons. I'll just give you a quick look at some. For example, yeah, the harp would be on the last page, wouldn't it? Like, here is the Quillen harp. This is a super strong weapon, and I'll say this just briefly. All of these Quillen and Huanglong weapons, for the most part, are very strong. Some of them are more specialized in their use, but for the most part, they're all probably worth getting. I can talk more about the priority to get these in another video again, because there's so much to go over. But just to give you an example, the harp, which I would argue is the strongest one of all of them, its Oogie is remove 1 debuff from all parties, so it is a raid-wide clear every time you Oogie, which is just ridiculous. Also, big boost to Dark Alley's attacks, immunity skill ceiling debuffs, bonus debuff success rate, and skill damage cap. Like, it does so much stuff. It's just so good. Also, these just recently got the 4-star unlock, so it will take more reams to keep that in mind if you're planning on getting reams. But yeah, that's the thing to mention. These things are really strong. So, how to get pendants? As I mentioned, you do these battles, but if you look at this menu, you notice that there's a symbol underneath, I cannot remember which one that is, underneath this green boss. That means it is the Cardinal Bonus time for that boss. You will get extra pendants if you do the boss while that symbol is underneath them. You can see more about that if you click on the Cardinal Bonus tab. Basically, it rotates to a different boss every 2 hours in like a set schedule. If you need to plan ahead for a specific boss, go ahead and check out the schedule. Basically, if you're doing this at all, you're going to be wanting to do the one that currently has a Cardinal Bonus, unless you have some reason to do a specific boss that's not that one. On that note, there are daily missions. It's just basically kill each of the bosses 5 times. You'll get bonus pendants for doing each of the bosses 5 times. But the main draw, again, is you get a golden nugget if you do all of the dailies. So kill each of the bosses 5 times. Pretty much always worth it to do this every single day, just because gold nuggets, you're going to need so many of them, so it saves you some grinding. Other things to touch on, and again, so much stuff here. Rising Beast Trials. These are how you get the upgrade items for those 4 non-dark light weapons I talked about earlier. They cost a seal to start, and these fights are they're much harder than the other beast battles, so keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind these guys have elemental resistance. They are heavily damage resistant against the element they are not weak against. So if you're fighting the fire one, you definitely want to be water. You could, if you have a really strong dark grid or really strong non-water grid, you might be able to beat them, but it's going to be a lot harder. So that is pretty much oh wait, one more thing. I almost forgot the most important part. This little orb here, every time you do one of these boss fights, this orb will glow more and more. When it is fully lit up, it will pop a new banner up here for a primal boss, basically. Let me see if there's one in the raid finder real quick. Okay, so yeah, if it is the Cardinal Bonus time for green, when that orb is fully lit, it will let you host the Zephyrus fight. These fights are harder. They're not super hard, and you can summon backup for them, so it's not that big a deal. But these fights will give you a ton of pendants if you host them or participate in them. You can get upwards of like 5k pendants from one of these fights. So the fastest way to get pendants is just going to be spam the Battle of the Beast raid events as fast as you can until the crystal glows all the way. Then you host the big boss, do the big boss, get a bunch of pendants, so on and so forth. The cap on pendants you can hold is 30,000. You won't lose pendants if you like do a boss fight that would send you over that. Just know like you will want to spend pendants after you hit that cap. So that is about it. Again, that is just an overview. There are more things to talk about, like Quillen and Huanglong trains, which are the most efficient ways to do those guys. I'll probably touch on those in another video, though, because this one's getting pretty long. If you got any questions, just hit me up down below. If you got more suggestions on either Rise of the Beast things you'd like me to cover, or just Granblue topics in general, just go ahead and post down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. That super helps me out. And if you really want to be a champ, you can also check out my Patreon or my Twitter. Link should be in the comments down below. Anyways, that's it for now. Talk to you guys later. Love ya. Bye.